VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
And thank you for joining us on Crosstalk today here on the VCY America Network. My name is Jim Schneider, and we certainly appreciate you tuning in and listening to the information, participating in the program. And today, indeed, will be a program of participation as we take a look here at the race for the GOP nomination to the White House. Lots going on. I mean, with Super Tuesday happening just 48 hours ago, and a number of matters that are being impacted, not just on the presidential race, but a number of other races as well. For instance, in the state of Ohio, where Kucinich loses to a fellow Democrat there in the primary, some redistricting that had gone on, and going to be certainly a change in who is going to be running against Joe the Plumber in the state of Ohio. But there's been a lot of rhetoric going back and forth between the presidential campaigns that I would like to share with you today on the program. Before I do that, though, another article that came through on the Christian Post I found very interesting today. The headline is this: Democrats call for support of gay marriage in party platform, Obama silent. I beg to differ. The president is not silent on the issue. His actions speak so much louder than words. But the Obama campaign manager, Jim Messina, is treading lightly on the issue of whether President Obama will throw his support behind the Democratic Party endorsing gay marriage at this summer's national convention. However, the convention's chairman fully supports the issue. On Wednesday morning yesterday, the Los Angeles mayor called for the Democratic Party to include language that would endorse gay marriage after a reporter asked about the issue. He said, "We want to make the most accessible convention possible." The Los Angeles mayor is going to be chairing the 2012 convention in Charlotte, North Carolina, and going to be interesting to see what happens there. But they're noticing that Mr. Obama is staying kind of silent on the issue, that he's kind of in a precarious position at this point as to whether or not to support it. I don't even have to wonder in my mind. He does support same-sex marriage. I mean, that is so evidenced by his positions. It is evidenced by the fact that he has called for repeal of the Defense of Marriage Act. It is evidenced by the fact that he has told his U.S. Attorney General to not defend DOMA. It's evidenced by the fact that he's pushed for and won a victory, a very controversial victory, in the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and so much has come out as far as the skewed results that the public was made aware of pertaining to the survey of sailors and Marines and personnel are certainly our troops across around the world. But it is evidence in 1,000,001 ways. This has been the most pro-homosexual president that this nation has ever known. So I'm not fooled by the fact that the president's being silent on the issue, because in my book, his actions speak so much louder than his words on the matter. Well, let's move over to the GOP. There is a lot of back and forth on this matter here, and we're going to give you opportunity to weigh in on the issue today. I'm going to share with you several articles and then let you speak your thoughts. Here's from Newsmax. Headline: Romney encourages rivals to fold. No way, they say. His delegate lead growing. Mitt Romney gently nudged his Republican opponents toward the sidelines yesterday and said he was on track to wrap up the presidential nomination before the party convention. Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich paid him no mind, vowing to fight on in a campaign marked by persistent ideological divisions. A Santorum ally is urging Gingrich to abandon the race. In response, the former House Speaker said he would consider it if he thought Santorum was sure to beat Romney and then President Barack Obama. But he says, I don't. He doesn't think that, so he's staying in. Well, one day after Super Tuesday, Romney's campaign circulated a memo making the case that his 6 victories on a single night had increased his delegate lead to a point that it was increasingly hard for any of his rivals to catch up. Really? I'll share those numbers with you in a moment. He said they were hurting the party by continuing to try. Romney is saying that Santorum, Paul, Gingrich are hurting the party by continuing to try to receive the nomination. Romney said, we think that we'll get done before the convention, but one thing, and he was asked about, sewing up all the delegates, but he said, one thing I can tell you for sure is there is not going to be some brokered convention where some new person comes in because the nominee and becomes a nominee. It's going to be one of the 4 people that are still running. Well, while Romney clearly would like all his opponents to drop out, the departure of just one, either Santorum or Gingrich, might be less welcome. You see, the two often divide the anti-Romney vote and enable him to win contests that he might otherwise lose. In Ohio, the marquee matchup Tuesday, Romney edged Santorum by a little more than 10,000 votes out of 1.2 million votes cast. Gingrich drew about 175,000 votes, Ron Paul 111,000. Santorum losing to Romney by just over 10,000 votes. So we have Romney telling his rivals, hey, time to get out of this thing. I pretty much have this sewn up. Well, let's go to the conservative action alerts. Here's the headline. Santorum ally calls for Gingrich exit. The super PAC, which has spent millions in support of Rick Santorum, came out yesterday morning with a sharp admonition for Newt Gingrich. It's time to drop out. Based upon the electoral performance, I'm sure it was electrical, and his out-of-step record, it's time for Newt Gingrich to exit the Republican nomination process, said Stuart Roy, a red, white, and blue fundraiser. He said that Gingrich's campaign is an obvious non-starter. The group argued in a press release that Santorum, former senator from Pennsylvania, and Gingrich, former House Speaker, are splitting the support of social conservatives. And he said, quote, Newt has become a hindrance to a conservative alternative. The call is a turn of the tables upon Gingrich, who in January cited the same reason in arguing for the exit of Santorum and then candidate Rick Perry. So Santorum calling for Gingrich to quit. Now, here's also from Newsmax. Gingrich advisor, Romney should quit the race and leave it to conservatives. Newt Gingrich's presidential campaign has an interesting response to a call from Super PAC supporting Rick Santorum for the speaker to exit. He's calling for frontrunner Mitt Romney. He said the Mitt Romney should say sayonara, says Gingrich policy advisor Vince Haley. I think Romney should bow to the race so that conservatives can have a debate about how to confront Obama, he said. It's Mitt Romney who is messing up this race, and it's establishment support. This is keeping him afloat against the electorate's wishes. Then we have from LifeSiteNews.com interesting thoughts into this race. Although 3 of the 4 Republican presidential candidates could claim victories in the Super Tuesday primaries Tuesday night, analysts say it's become a two-man race between Mitt Romney and Rick Santorum. Amidst the close loss in Ohio, Santorum supporters point to their candidate's lack of funds. Romney's campaign and his super PAC Restore Our Future outspent Santorum and his allied groups by a margin of 4-1 in Super Tuesday states. Romney won urban votes in the state's 3 largest cities, Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and their surrounding suburbs. He also did pretty good in Dayton, Akron, and Canton, but Santorum swept the state everywhere else, piling up large majorities in the state's rural districts. LifeSiteNews.com also is reporting that looking at the numbers from Tuesday night, it's become increasingly clear that the former speaker can either be a kingmaker or a spoiler. Interesting statement there. Because to unite conservatives, Gingrich would have to suspend his campaign and endorse Rick Santorum for the Republican nomination for president, says the leading conservative. After prevailing in his must-win home state of Georgia, Gingrich failed to come in second place anywhere else, including the southern states of Tennessee, where the state's former U.S. Senator Fred Thompson had campaigned for him, or in Oklahoma. In 5 states, he came in 4th place. Former candidate Herman Cain, who has endorsed the speaker, wrote on his Facebook page, quote, folks, only 1/3 of the delegates have been allotted. It's too soon to call on the candidate to withdraw from the race. As Mitt Romney has said, hey, we're going to have one of the 4 of us go to the convention and be the nominee. Interesting tidbit here, a story that WND carried, and that is in an interview with CNN on Tuesday, former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin did not shoot down the idea of accepting a proposal to run for president should the Republican presidential race lead to an open convention in August. She said, quote, anything is possible. I don't close any doors that perhaps would be open out there, so no, I wouldn't close that door. My plan is to be at the convention. Interesting matters going on as we look at this the race for the GOP nomination. There are a total of 1,144 delegates that are needed to win the nomination. Of that 1,144, here's the breakdown thus far. Romney has 415 delegates. Santorum, 176. Gingrich, 105. Ron Paul, 47. John Huntsman has 2 delegates. So there's needing 1,144. Romney is about one-third of the way there, but there are 1,541 delegates that are yet remaining. And certainly we're looking for the next contest to be taking place as we look coming up here after now Super Tuesday. March 10th, this Saturday, we see Kansas having their caucus, the U.S. Virgin Islands and Guam and the Northern Mariana Islands, number of delegates up on each of those locations. And then on the 13th, Alabama, Hawaii, Mississippi, and America, Samoa. March 17th, Missouri. The 18th, Puerto Rico. The 20th of March, Illinois. The 24th, Louisiana. April 3rd, District of Columbia, Maryland, and Wisconsin. So on and on this process goes into the early part of the summer months. I believe the last one, South Dakota, you're June 5th. The last one, June 26th, the state of Utah having their primary to take place, all leading up to the Republican National Convention, August 27th through the 30th at the Tampa Bay Times Forum in Tampa, Florida. And many are gearing up for that. The Democratic National Convention, by the way, is September 3rd through the 6th at the Time Warner Cable Arena in Charlotte, North Carolina. And if you're interested as well, the Constitution Party has their presidential nominating convention taking place next month, April 18th through the 21st. And that's going to be at the Sheraton Music City Hotel in Nashville. Only aware of one announced candidate so far under Constitution Party. And then, folks, things head toward the November election. Already the presidential election debates have been scheduled. The presidential debate, October 3rd, 16th, and 22nd. The vice presidential debate taking place on October the 11th. So these are the matters that are before us here at this time, in which we have Romney telling his rivals, hey, it's time to fold, get out of the way. Santorum saying, Mr. Gingrich, it's time for you to leave. Gingrich saying Romney should be quitting the race. Earlier he was telling Santorum he should leave. And on the cycle goes. Today on Crosstalk, we're going to open the phone lines here right away in the program to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts on where things stand at this point. Should somebody leave this race here at this point? Is it time for somebody to get out? The number to Crosstalk, 800-733-9829, 800-733-9829. Call and share your thoughts as we witness and observe the race for the GOP nomination to the White House. We'll be right back. You're listening to Crosstalk here on VCY America.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, creation scientist and author with the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, what led Charles Darwin to propose evolution?
Chris Darwin started off as a creationist. He was actually training to be a pastor. But when his young daughter died, he rejected Christianity's idea of a loving God who cares about his creation. He saw a world full of death and pain and suffering and concluded that there was no God and that only natural processes like natural selection had ever operated. Thus he proposed natural selection as his idea for the origin of things. The truth is, however, God created all things very good in the beginning, but Adam's sin brought the penalty of sin on all his dominion, and now everyone gets sick and dies. And yet Christianity also tells us that God sent his Son to pay sin's penalty so that our fellowship with him could be restored. The Christian faith starts back in Genesis.
For free information on creation, visit us on the web at www.icr.org.
Today we're getting your observations on the GOP race to the White House to come against the Democratic nominee. It is no secret that the media, your major media out there, their favorite is Mitt Romney to go forward. A very Mitt Romney bias that's coming through the media. Romney is saying his rivals have little chance. It's a headline in today's Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. And so we're gaining your thoughts today across the nation as to where things are going right now with the GOP nomination. Do you believe it's time for somebody else to step out or for somebody else to step in? Would you like to see it come down to a brokered convention, so to speak, where perhaps somebody who's not even in the race at this point would be nominated from the floor at the national convention not too many months from now? So let's gain your thoughts on the issue today on Crosstalk. The number 800-733-9829. Let's begin in Pennsylvania with David. And David, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to say, the race, it's not over until whoever gets, the maximum amount of votes they need to win. And, of course, Mitt Romney's leading, but I don't think any of them should drop out. And the only thing is they really don't need to do any more, dirty campaigning, to tear down the other candidates so much, because it kind of hurts the party a little bit. But, if Mitt Romney wins, we'll have to stand behind whoever wins, because we can't have 4 more years of Obama. Obama, in my opinion, what he's done in the Middle East is the same as an Islamic terrorist in sheep's clothing. That's how I feel about Obama. He's a socialist and he's a dictator. And he's going to destroy this country. That's his purpose.
David, so you're saying regardless of who wins the GOP nomination, that is your vote?
Yeah, whoever wins the GOP nomination, you got to stick with them, because we have to get rid of Obama.
Okay, thank you for your thoughts here today, David. I do want to make plain that the thoughts that are being shared today are your own, the listeners. They do not imply endorsement of any of these by Crosstalk or any of the Crosstalk affiliate stations, giving you opportunity to share your opinions on the issue. This program, nor this network, nor the individual stations endorse candidates, and so we make that very clear, but giving you an opportunity to share your thoughts here today. Barbara, you're next from Washington State. Go ahead, you're on the air.
Hi, I just have a question. If somebody does withdraw from the race at this point, like the others are suggesting, how do they determine who gets those delegates?
Generally speaking, the candidate that drops out, generally speaking, will endorse another candidate, or he will ask that his delegates be committed to another candidate, or he may just keep the delegates that he has. For instance, John Huntsman right now still has 2 delegates. May keep those delegates and take those to the convention.
Okay, so then if they endorse someone else or ask that their delegates go there, then is that binding on those delegates?
I don't have an answer to that question. Perhaps one of our listeners has the answer to that, but it's a good question. Thanks. Okay. Appreciate your call. Our number, 800-733-9829. Our calls here today on Crosstalk. We're going to pick up another call here momentarily. And let's go next to Tom in Abilene, Kansas. You're on the air, Tom.
Oh, I'm Bishop, and talk about
I'm sorry, Tom.
Santorum.
Tom, you're breaking up there quite a bit on your phone.
I'm sorry. I'm a Rick Santorum supporter, because he is the alternative that will stand for what.
Okay, I'm sorry, Tom. I would love to hear your comments, but you're breaking up there on the cell phone. Next to Charleston, Illinois, and Bobby, go ahead. You're on the air.
All right. Well, real quick, the first thing is I'd like to talk about the nominating delegates that your last caller talked about.
Yeah.
If someone else, if, say, Newt Gingrich were to endorse Mitt Romney or Rick Santorum, it's technically not binding. They don't have to do that. Mm-hmm. What could end up happening is they go through the first ballot, and if nobody gets to 1440 or whatever it is, they have to do it again. So so that's kind of how that. If you are released by your candidate, then you can vote for whoever you want to.
Okay.
So there's the first thing. The next point that I wanted to make is there's a lot of calls from Santorum's camp for Gingrich to drop out of the race. And the sad thing is, even though I'm not exactly Mitt Romney's biggest fan by any means, it's the fact that if we keep this going on until June, or if we don't have a candidate locked up by the convention, if we have a brokered convention like some people are thinking we're going to have, then Obama's going to win. Because if we wait till August to put a candidate out there that is running against the president instead of running against other Republicans, you don't have enough time from August to November to come back with whatever's going on.
So, Bobby, do you suggest somebody drop out?
Not at all. I mean, if anybody was going to drop out, and I only say this because I'm a Newt Gingrich supporter, it's because the two conservatives, Santorum and Gingrich, one of them would have to drop out for the other one to have a shot, basically. But the thing is, Mitt Romney's so far ahead, and we're beating up on each other so much that this thing just needs to end.
Okay.
You know, if all four of them stay in, Romney's going to keep winning these things even by just a little bit, but he's going to win enough that it's over with. And that's the only way that electorally we have a shot at beating Obama.
Thank you for your comments here today. Appreciate it. Our number 800-733-9829. Next to Brett in Franklin. You're on the air. Hello, Brett.
Oh, hi. I guess I just want to say quickly, I mean, this is Crosstalk, and I just want to say, there's a caller earlier who said that, we need to get rid of Obama, and I just wanted to say, we need to follow and respect whatever leader is elected. I mean, the Bible calls us to follow the government, no matter what it is, and, we just have to do the best with what God provides for us. So whoever the winner is, I think we should just get behind them, whoever it is.
And how do you mean by get behind them, Brett? Does that mean to support all the policies of that individual?
Well, obviously not. We have to stand, on what's right, but I just want to, we can't always be fighting against, everything. I don't know. Maybe I'm not making my point as best as I can, but, we're called to be the lights in the world, and that's just the most important thing to me, I guess. Okay, appreciate that. And would you agree that people can be lights right now in how they cast their primary vote? Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm all for getting anybody in the GOP in office, but whatever the outcome is, we just have to focus on being, what we can be all the time. Okay, appreciate your comments. Janie, you're next in Idaho. You're on the air.
Hi. We just had our caucus, and as you know, it went for Mitt Romney, 68%. The caucus, the GOP in this state, designed that because of the high Mormon vote in this state, so it was totally designed to get Mitt Romney as the GOP candidate. But I would just like to let your listeners know that Mitt Romney care is absolutely no different than Obamacare. If you can go on a search right now and get 20 different sites that will tell you that he forced the Catholic Church to carry contraceptive pills, of which they've been paying fines. He is no different. He lied when he said he did not. It's a matter of record. He signed the bill into law. And I just think everybody needs to know that before we get behind and come together. I would rather vote for no one than to vote for him, because he's going to be no different. He's another John McCain. And it's just kind of sad. Just wanted to let your listeners know. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts here today, Janie. And we're giving you that opportunity today at 800-733-9829 to Tom in Mitchell, South Dakota. Thanks for calling Crosstalk.
I just heard what that last lady said, and a vote for no one is an endorsement of someone. And we cannot vote for no one. But the situation is there is no perfect runner out there. If we're certainly not going to vote for Obama, but if it is whoever is chosen by our system to be the runner against the president, then we do need to get behind him to support him. However, one person, the guy just before this lady, said we need to support the man. I don't believe that. I believe we need to support the values that this country was based upon, and hopefully the man will do the same thing. We need to hold them accountable, which I don't think we have. We've been so wishy-washy that many of these politicians get in there and do what they want, and we've been just sitting back and just like a bass waiting for a plug, and we haven't done our job. We need to be more involved in the political system in the next years ahead. hold these guys accountable.
And Tom, as far as our major topic here today on the race for the GOP nomination, any thoughts? Should somebody be stepping out at this point?
Well, yeah, I think that those that cannot help the system or then need to do what would help, and that would be to step out.
And who is that individual?
Well, the ones on the lower end of the scale, if they don't have a feasible chance of getting the nomination, then let's not split it. Let's get behind those that do have the run. But like you've already said, there's a lot of, only 1/3 of the delegates are out there, so
right.
Maybe at this point it might be just a little too soon. But pretty soon, though, it's going to be obvious, I think.
Appreciate your call here.
Thank you.
Our number 800-733-9829 to East Troy. William, you're on the air.
Yes, thanks for taking my call today. I think that as we're looking at this issue, the book The God Makers by Ed Decker really spells out what the Mormon agenda is when it comes to wanting to rule this country or take over the world. A lot of people don't want to hear that. Mitt Romney can profess to be this wonderful, family-loving guy, but like the lady before me said, he signed into law Romneycare that is terrible, and that's the same thing that President Obama is now trying to do. But for a born-again Christian to naively want to vote for a Mormon, they need to study and find out exactly what Mormon theology is, because their theology is not what the Pilgrims would have been or what our country is based upon. They have a different Jesus. They have a different gospel. They have a different Bible. They have a different way of salvation, and they have a different worldview when it comes to how you run government. So personally, I really like Mr. Rick Santorum. He's not perfect, but Mitt Romney is a terrible, terrible choice. And for born-again Christians or for Christians to back this guy is horrible. It's terrible. And we're living in a very deceptive age. And, of course, our good friend Newt Gingrich, who votes for all kinds of weird things and then partners up with Nancy Pelosi, anybody that would partner up with her, there's no way you could vote for him as being conservative. How can you say you're conservative and liberal at the same time? That's double-speak. So the heart of the king is in the hands of the Lord, but we need to really pray that we be discerning in the days in which we live. So people need to get their heads out of the sand and look for right answers, and that starts in God's Word, my friend.
Thank you, William. Appreciate your call here today.
God bless.
Bye-bye now. And to Jeff in Madison. Jeff, go ahead.
Well, let's ask first the question of who is the candidate who has the most amount of support from people in the military, and that's Ron Paul. He's also the only candidate who opposed the war in Iraq and the actions of, George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. Now, you think about it, George Bush and Dick Cheney did not represent true conservative Eisenhower values, which the party originally belonged to. Now, you got candidates like Newt Gingrich, who was trying to impeach Clinton for cheating on his wife while Gingrich was cheating on his wife. Everybody agrees that Romney is seen as, some super wealthy elitist. There's good questions as if Rick Santorum is possibly in the closet and a hypocrite, and then, you're left with Ron Paul. He's the only one who can actually beat Obama. If you want to beat Obama, you got to go with Ron Paul, because he's the only one who has the support of the anti-war community, the veterans, and people who really, truly understand the Constitution.
Appreciate your call here. We've got a break up against us. You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America, and we're taking opinions from across the nation here today at 800-733-9829.
Are you on death row? One Christian film producer says everybody is. Every one of us will one day die. Then what? In a heart-stirring 30-minute DVD, film writer, producer, and director Dave Cristiano has released a penetrating on-stage drama that takes you inside a prison cell and captures the life of a man on death row who knows that in less than 3 hours he will die. Convicted of murder, he sits angry, guilty, and scared. At his request for a preacher, the two engage in a soul-searching conversation that is forever impacting. As an evangelistic tool, VCY America is making available Death Row, encouraging you to share with unsaved friends and loved ones. One copy is available for a donation of $8, or you can obtain a 4-pack of the Death Row DVDs for a donation of $20. This offer will expire at the end of March. To make your donation by phone, call 1-800-729-9829 and specify whether you want 1 or 4 Death Row DVDs. That's 1-800-729-9829.
You're listening to Crosstalk here on VCY America. We're talking today about the GOP's race for the nomination to go against Barack Obama in the general election upcoming here in November. And we're posing the issue here before you today because there has been, since Super Tuesday, just a lot going on where the matter of Mr. Romney is telling his rivals to fold it up, get out of the way. Basically, you have to understand math to see he's going to do it. Santorum is calling for, a Santorum ally, that is, calling for Gingrich to exit. And Gingrich is saying Romney should quit the race, leave it to conservatives, and on it goes. So we're bringing it to you today here on Crosstalk to give your observations pertaining to the GOP nomination as it relates to these candidates here at this time, or a brokered convention where somebody new comes onto the scene here at the convention. 1,144 delegates are needed to win the GOP nomination. As of right now, Romney has 415, Santorum 176, Gingrich 105, Ron Paul 47, and John Huntsman 2. There's 1,541 delegates that are remaining to be doled out yet, and 1,144, again, is what is needed to win the GOP nomination. So we're ascertaining the audience here today to give you opportunity to weigh in on. Some of you have already participated in your caucuses or your primaries. Others of you have them upcoming. As we mentioned, Kansas coming up here in just a few days. You're next on the list here, and Alabama, you're next Tuesday as well, and Mississippi, Hawaii, etc., and on the list goes up into the early summertime, in which we have the final state, June 26th, Utah. And just getting your thoughts here today on Crosstalk to give you opportunity to speak rather than just all the nightly news anchors. Okay, let's go to Toledo, Ohio, or is it Oregon?
Oregon.
Okay, go ahead, Paul. You're on the air.
Okay, thank you. I was listening to a radio program out of Portland this morning, and they had a Democratic blogger on interview.
Okay.
And she was asked the question, who do the Democrats want to run against Romney? Against Obama, and the answer was Romney. I thought that was kind of interesting. They figure he's going to be the easiest one to defeat. And I thought that was real interesting.
Okay, so for clarification, they were saying, a Democratic blogger, that Mitt Romney would be the easiest of the GOP candidates for Mr. Obama to beat in the general election.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and one reason I don't want to vote for Romney is because of his Mormon, religion. I think it'd give him, the Mormons, too much credibility. After all, they do operate. They don't have Christ in their lives, and it's not grace.
Thanks for your thoughts here today, Paul.
You bet.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
To Oak Creek, Connie, you're on the air.
Good afternoon. I would like to respond to Brett, who called a few calls back, where he said that whoever gets reelected, we should back them. And I think that's an outrageous statement, especially for people who are Christians to say, because if we read God's Word, the Lord is against homosexuality. He's against killing of unborn children. And I would never, ever back a president that has those beliefs like Obama does. So I feel that that's a very wrong statement to say that. God would not want us to do that. And I just also like to say that I feel if we don't vote for whoever gets in as a candidate against Obama, that's going to be a vote for Obama because we're not going to cast our vote. So I really believe that everybody, even though they might not be the perfect candidate, they got to be better than Obama.
Okay,
so
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Appreciate your thoughts today. Keep in mind, the next president, no doubt, is going to appoint or nominate at least one, perhaps two, U.S. Supreme Court nominees. Virtually everything that's passed today seems to have to go through the courts, but that's going to have a huge significance on the next, decades to come as well. Okay, back to the lines. Illinois, John, you've been holding the longest. Thanks for calling. You're on the air.
Yes. The issue is, are we going to give away what little freedom we have left, because Obama intends to rule, not serve. And when he spoke in Cairo, he mentioned the Quran several times and always called it the Holy Quran. He's never called the Bible the Holy Bible. Think about that. I've never called an unholy book a holy book. So what does he worship? And, of course, if our choice is between a Mormon and a Muslim, God cannot do anything but say, I'm turning my back on this country and you're done, if he hasn't already. Maybe that's why he raised up Obama in the first place, allow him to delude the people, because people have to be very deluded to vote for someone like him. Of course, most of them are uninformed because the news media does not tell the truth. They didn't tell that Obama associated with communists, terrorists, and Jeremiah Wright, who was the most ungodly excuse for a preacher I ever heard talk, but most people never heard him talk. But he said, I don't say God bless America. No, he didn't say it. He screamed it 3 times in a row.
John, thank you for your comments here today. I know what you said. We're not going to repeat that here over the air, but thank you for taking time to share your opinions with us today. Fort Scott, Kansas, Tom, you're on the air.
Yes, how are you guys today?
Fine, thank you. Your thoughts?
Good. Yeah, I believe the only chance we have is Santorum. I believe the Muslim religion and the Mormons. I believe Mormon religion is the Islam of America. I think having Obama in there would be just like having Romney in there. Neither one of them care about this country. It's all about their own agenda. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you for your thoughts here today. Our number 800-733-9829. Jim in Sarasota, Florida, you're on the air.
Yes, sir. You had an earlier call that it stirred me to call. I pulled over and got to a phone. We just returned from Washington, D.C. I'm a part of Combat Veterans for Ron Paul, and we marched to the White House from the Washington Monument in protest of this administration and this government. And along not only this administration, but the Republicans, as well as the Democrats in Congress and the Senate, that have basically usurped the Constitution and are passing and extending the Patriot Act and extending the war in the Middle East. Though you'll find that the little percentage of us, the 0.5% of the United States that actually serves in the armed forces, and then the other fraction that is returned from combat in the Middle East, we've had a very different experience than the population, majority of the population here in the United States. Well, we've been to the homes of Christian people in the Middle East, as well as Islamic people who are peaceful people. The people of the United States are consistently being brainwashed, and they're not aware of the fact there are 600 Christian churches in Iran and 300,000 Christian churches in Palestine behind the wall that the Israelis have built. So it's very different to actually walk the country of the Middle East and come back to the United States than it is to be filled with propaganda by the cable news networks, because they certainly have an agenda. And when we were in Arlington, we were surrounded by the military-industrial complex, the skyscrapers.
Jim, just so we stay on topic here, do you believe it's time for somebody, one of these four, who are contending to be bowing out right now? Hello, Jim.
The monument.
Hello,
there.
Jim.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Back to our topic. Are you suggesting that one or two or more of the four, it's time for them to step down and let the others duke it out?
I would like to reinforce the earlier caller in the fact that not only thousands of us were in Washington supporting Ron Paul, we will be at the convention in Tampa, and we want to invite as many Ron Paul supporters as possible to join us. We will be there in uniform in March.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Appreciate your comments today. Savoy, Illinois. Zoe, you're on the air.
I'm calling for several things. I wanted to kind of protest against the guy who said that we should just sort of blindly follow whatever leader we're given, and would he have followed Adolf Hitler also? And there's a book out which I think you may have heard about. I believe it's called Romans 13, and it's by a pastor, and I can't remember his name at the moment. But he talks about this issue about, how we should follow our government, and when it is time to say no, we won't follow that order. And I'm backing the candidate that our military, as the last gentleman was saying, Ron Paul, because he wants to take us back to the founding of what our country was founded on. And I left a message with your screener for you, and I'm not going to go into it because I know you'll say I'm off topic, but it's very important, and you might want to just talk to him.
Thanks for your comments here today.
You.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
The number here to Crosstalk, 800-733-9829, 800-733-9829. Okay, to the state of Oregon. And caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hello?
Yes.
I'd just like to say that I heard a reporter on the BBC, a very liberal reporter, say that Romney and Obama were the same on the issues, and that the battle would be if they were against each other on personality.
Interesting comment. Thanks for sharing that today. To the state of South Dakota, Eric, you're on the air.
Yes, Mr. Schneider. I had some thoughts about this, the candidates in the upcoming election. If Ron Paul is still on the primary ticket come June 5th, that's when we vote here, my vote would go to him. He's, the most constitutional leaning and a Biden of the bunch. Next pick would be Newt Gingrich. He was the most effective while he was Speaker back in the 90s. Then Rick Santorum, and after that, might have to hold my nose and vote for Mittens come November, because I don't think the others really have a snowball chance, to tell you the truth. But even Mittens would be preferable. I think that any Republican in the race, excuse me, please, could beat Jug Ears this fall.
Well, okay. Don't really need to resort to that end, but thanks for sharing your opinions today, Eric. Number 800-733-9829 to, let's see, line number 3, Shorewood, and Mac, you're on the air.
Hi, Jim. I'd like to vote for a candidate that reflects my faith in Jesus Christ, and the only one who seems to be close to that is Ron Paul. He's got a statement of faith on his website, so I don't want to see him drop out, but, even Ron Paul, I have some questions about some of his views maybe on homosexuality for one. So it's almost, there's no one to vote for, just about. But Ron Paul's got a good statement of faith. So, that's my one maybe. I don't want to see him drop out.
Yeah, and what you're saying, I know, like, his positions on homosexuality, LifeSiteNews.com had carried that Ron Paul personally opposed to same-sex marriage, but, homosexuals should be allowed to marry in states that legalize the practice. So that's the battle that folk, I think, just like you, have been expressing right now.
Yes, sir. He's maybe the best of a bad bunch. So I just would like to vote for a born-again Christian, really. Interesting observation. Thanks for calling us here today. We have another break upon us, and we'll come back in our final segment for more of your calls, your thoughts, and your opinions here today on Crosstalk as we talk about this, the GOP race to the nomination right now to come against the Democratic nominee, in all likelihood, Barack Obama. And we'll be taking your calls after the break. This is Crosstalk on VCY America.
For the Worldview Weekend Minute, I'm Brandon House. Our website's worldviewweekend.com. Romans 1:23 tells us that one of the signs that God has given a nation over is that they begin to take the incorruptible God and make him like the corruptible man. We see in 2 Thessalonians 2:9-11 that there will be a strong delusion during the last days. We see in 1 Kings chapter 22:19-23 that when people follow false teachers and false gods, God actually allows demons to speak through those false gods, making people believe that their gods are really real. We see in 1 Kings chapter 22, God permitting 400 demons to go into 400 false prophets and then speak like they had authority in order to do what? To destroy the people. In other words, God uses false teachers, false prophets, and false gods and allows the demons to take part in that in order to bring judgment for their idolatry. Indeed, I believe God's judging America, but we can use it to proclaim the gospel.
This is Crosstalk on VCY America, and today it's your turn. Now, we talked about the battle that's going on within the GOP right now, and taking your thoughts and opinions today here on Crosstalk. And I see the lines are all packed up, so we're going to go right to the lines here once again by starting in Ringgold, Georgia. Doug, go ahead. You're on the air.
Okay. In my opinion, I think Romney is a Republican Obama. And also, I think on your program, did I not understand or misunderstand about the Mormon religion is based some or somewhat on the Quran? Did you not have a speaker here a while back?
Well, we had a program some time ago on a book. I think it was on let me think of the name of it. Can Mitt Romney serve two masters, the Mormon Church versus the Office of the Presidency of the United States? You can find that back in our archives and listen to the full program as Mormonism was really dealt with, and a lot of the background went into that as well.
That's what I meant. I think some of these guys are going to fool around and be like the Bill Clinton election, like Ross Perot did. I believe that if he'd gotten out instead of staying, he just split the vote. What he did. Instead of going to the George Daddy Bush.
So, Doug, do you think it's time for somebody to step out of this four-way race right now?
Well, I'm not a politician, but I tell you, the Republicans they've been gouging each other too much. I think they should just get up there and state whatever the platform is and go on.
Thanks for your thoughts. Appreciate it. Next to John in West Milwaukee. You're on the air.
Yes, afternoon. I think Romney's he's an empty suit there. What are the other choices we got? Santorum, what religion is he?
Roman Catholic.
Roman Catholic? Well, I'm uneasy about that. And then Gingrich, what is he?
I believe he also is converted to Roman Catholicism.
Okay, well, and then Ron Paul.
I'm not sure of his religion.
He said he's a born-again Christian.
Well, yeah, others have said that too. I don't know what his religion is, though. What his denominational ties are.
Well, he says on his website there that's all for to see that he trusts his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I think he's the only one. I think the other ones kind of scare me. And then any of those, I don't see them winning against Obama.
Okay, thank you for your thoughts here today. Our number 800-733-9829. Tony in Southern Illinois, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi, this is Tony. I just call. I'm a fairly new Christian. I've always been a Democrat, but since I gave my life to Christ, I've kind of been struggling with the whole deal. But to be honest with you, man, being a new Christian, it really just stresses me to hear all the people just personally attacking all these people. It's not up to us to decide if they're going to heaven. That's between them and God, But that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, and what's your observations pertaining to the race itself?
Boy, it's scary. It really is scary. I really think if they're going to have any kind of chance at all, that they're going to have somebody's going to have to step down and pull the party together.
Any suggestions?
Oh boy, I'd like to see Romney step down myself, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for your call here today, Tony. And to Cook, Minnesota, Jerry, you're on the air.
Thanks for having me on. I'm a Ron Paul supporter all the way, and he supports the Constitution, and he doesn't believe in all these no-win wars all over the world that we're engaged in. And people like Newt Gingrich is a very, very dangerous person. He's a globalist, internationalist. He's associated with the mystical Tofflers, the Toffler family there. And Santorum loves warfare and welfare. And, you know, the Republicans always nominate a hopeless liberal. The hopeless liberals who stand for nothing, like both of the Bushes, Bob Dole, John McCain, and now most likely they're going to nominate Romney. Well, it's the same thing all over again. They're horrible, horrible choices. But Ron Paul is the only choice that we have and who would help pull the country out of the mess that it's in.
Okay, thank you for sharing your thoughts. 800-733-9829. Amy, you're next in Wisconsin.
Yes, hi. I'm calling because I listened to Rick Santorum on the Thanksgiving Eagle Forum, and he said he was born Catholic, but he confesses to be a born-again Christian, and he became born-again through being around people like Michelle Bachmann. And also, too, I would like to say that I think that caller that said that the Democrats want Romney, I think that is right, because they've had this scripted all along, and it's the 99 versus the 1%, and Romney's the 1%.
Okay, thank you for your call here today. To Century, Florida. Steve, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, I'd just like to say that the decision on who we should pick for to be our one to run for president is a tough one, at least why it's with me. And then I think in a way, we put too much emphasis in one way on who, I don't look at the president as being the salvation of our country. But saying that, I'd like to say this. Our nation, our first president was inaugurated in New York City on Wall Street after he stated that our nation would not be a nation without the unseen hand of God. He led the first Congress down to a church to pray, and it's called St. Paul's Chapel. He led them down that Wall Street to pray, and he asked God to protect our nation. But you know what I learned, what's so shocking is that the very place where this was happening in was at a place we call Ground Zero. I think God has warned our nation, and I think it's a call to turn back to God. And I don't believe any president, military might, money, which all these are necessary, I do not believe any of those are going to be the answer unless God's people turn back to God completely. And but I thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for your call here today. Kathy, you're next in Hayward, Wisconsin.
Yes. We're just praying for the Lord Jesus Christ to surge the candidate of his choice. I think we have to be careful not to be sheep following after what we hear on negative ads that have been out there against a lot of people. I think we have to realize how Christ dealt with a harlot. He bent down and wrote something in the earth, and all the self-righteous hung their heads and walked away. So I think we need to be on our knees. God is a great God. There's nothing too hard for him. And whatever his will is, we have to accept it. So that's all I have to say. God bless you.
Thank you for your call here today. And, folks, we've taken thoughts from across the nation here today, and I think as our final caller pointed out, Kathy, we do need to be in prayer. And not casual prayer, folks. We need to be in intense prayer, and certainly that the Lord would raise up that whom he would to be the leader of this nation. And certainly we need to keep this nation in our prayers regularly. Thanks for joining us today here on Crosstalk on the VCY America Network.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Tape Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208, or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.